everybody. Welcome back to the Political Theater, everybody. We are finally back here in Ohio. It's been a long week of us traveling about and getting stuck in D.C., which was all kinds of fun, but that's okay. We're finally back here, and we've got a lot to talk about today. There has been a ton of news that have come out today, guys. There's a new video that's come out about Alex Pretti that has shown, he's not this saintly person that the left has made him out to be, and that's no real shock to anybody that pays any real attention. But, of course, the left has made him out to be their next hero, so we're going to have to go through that anyway. We've also got some really interesting information about Illhan Omar. Her winery that she supposedly owned and disclosed in her financial disclosing has some very interesting things going on with it. So we're going to go through some of that. We're going to go look at some of those disclosures and look at the winery itself, which is turning out to be even more entertaining than I thought it would be. So we're going to go through some of those stories too. Then we're also going to kind of go over another thing we may have figured out today, which is some of these arrests that happened from Pam Bondi today in Minneapolis. There's a really interesting name that's included in that. So we need to go through some of this stuff. We need to go over all of it. But before we do any of that, guys, make sure you guys share the link out. Let people know we are live. I'm Walter Kurt. This is the Political Theater. This is a weeknight show. I hope glad everyone is here. If you guys have a comment, please put a comment down below on any of the streams, wherever you may be listening. If you're on Substack, YouTube, X, Rumble, wherever you're at. I mean, we're trying to expand this to as many places as possible. So make sure you guys leave a comment and give me some feedback on the show. If you guys are joining us on the X space, make sure you guys leave comments and make sure you guys share the link out on X space. Make sure everyone knows we're alive here. And then we will have people up on the show here very shortly. So I think the first thing we're going to start with today, though, is probably the video of Alex Pretti. Now, for those who are just listening to audio, you can't really see a whole lot, but the video version of the show, if you guys want to watch the video version rather than that, you can do WCDispatch.com, or you can watch it right here on X. Both streams are being done at the same time. So I'm going to play this video because I watched this earlier, and I guess I wasn't surprised even in the slightest, but I do have a bunch to say about it. So let's go ahead and play this video, and then we'll talk about it shortly after that.
The BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat, and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Pretti was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations.
So we don't need to necessarily go through the entire footage here. The more important part of this is very simple. It's that, one, this definitely, they didn't confirm it via this video, but it definitely looks like the exact same guy. In fact, I think he was still wearing the exact same clothes. So I don't know if there's any real doubt that this is Pretti in this video. Maybe there is, but I don't really see it. It looks just like him to me. He's wearing the same clothes. You can see a gun on his waistband that was in the exact same location that it was at the day that he was shot. Now, the more interesting thing about this to me is not necessarily the fact that this is a video of him. And I'm not really interested in trying to say, well, look, he was aggressive with officers before. There's a much better way to look at this, okay? There's a much simpler explanation of what happened here and why we need to talk about it. Because if this is the case, if this is Pretti here in this video, if he did this and he was attacking and being aggressive with officers before, resisting officers before, destroying their vehicles, attacking law enforcement in the past, my guess is he had done it more than once. Okay, if you see now, we've got another video of this exact same incident happening again. But the more important part about this is that means that if the police department and the Minneapolis local authorities had done their damn job and arrested him and kept him off the streets, he'd still be alive. That's what happens when you're weak on crime. This guy, because he was a lunatic out there in the streets doing this on a regular basis, apparently, if this is him, and I'm going to assume that it is based on the video, it looks pretty similar to him, guys. I can't really argue that it's not him. So he would still be alive if he was held in jail, if he was prosecuted. I mean, how many crimes do you think he just committed in that video alone, right? He's resisting arrest from federal officers. He's attacking federal law enforcement vehicles. There's a whole book you could have thrown at him there. But of course, he didn't go to jail. Nothing happened to him. The local PD and the local authorities in Minneapolis and Minnesota have no interest in prosecuting real crimes. So what happens? He goes out, he does another aggressive action with them, and this time he ends up dead for it. You know, if this entire incident could have been avoided if the Minneapolis police and the Minneapolis, just generally, Minnesota government and leadership hadn't been so weak on their policy and weak on crime, this guy would still be alive. So that's the cost. That's the real cost when it gets into this. You know, this is what happens when you do not actually take care of crime and take it seriously. This is the result. You've got people that are emboldened to go out there and do the same sort of very dangerous actions that they did before. He did this. This is why we were wondering why was he out there? Well, it looks like he's been doing it. This is 2 weeks before he was shot. I believe he was shot on the 26th. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. No, it was before that. 26 is only 2 days ago. So what day was he shot, Chris? Do you know? I think that was Saturday? Friday.
Yeah, that was Saturday.
Yeah, so, just a couple days ago. But that's still 2 weeks before. This is January 13th is when this video was taken, by the way, guys. So if he was in prison, or if he was in jail, or, in holding, or even if he was bonded out, okay, so even if he was bonded out, normally when you get bonded out, guys, like, you're on probation, essentially. Like, if you commit another crime, they're going to pick you up immediately. So if he was actually properly processed and properly put through the judicial system and actually charged and actually had any interest in charging him, this guy would definitely still be alive. But this is the result. This is the result of poor leadership in Minnesota, in the Minneapolis PD. Even though now they're finally getting involved, this guy would be alive if it wasn't for them. So that's the way I wanted to look at this. And I was watching this, and there's a bunch of people saying, oh, look, it proves he's some sort of, horrible, evil. Guys, it doesn't matter, okay? I don't like his personality and him being out there in the streets is not what got him killed. What got him killed is the failed leadership of the Minneapolis Police Department, the failed leadership of Minnesota. If they had actually done their jobs, what they're supposed to do, which is crowd control, work with ICE, and arrest people when they attack federal officers, this guy would still be here. He would still be alive. Okay, this is different than the Renee Good shooting. This guy has been out here doing this stuff on a regular basis. This guy's been doing this on a regular basis. He was armed in this scenario. You can see the gun on his waistband. Looks like the exact same person. I'd be very surprised if this was not the exact same person. There is a little bit of controversy on the video. Someone saying that this is not from the BBC. I don't know who released this video. It came out on X. The tag up in the top right is TNM, but the guy who originally posted it said it was a bombshell report from the BBC, but I can't see anything on the BBC that says this is from the BBC. So I don't know where this came from originally, but I'm not sure it really matters. This video is very clear that this is the same guy. It looks like it to me. I'll be very surprised if it's not. Like I said, guys, it looks to me like he's even wearing the same clothes. So to me, again, if they had arrested him and kept him off the streets and kept him from going back into these scenarios, he'd be alive. But he's dead because the failed leadership decided they didn't care about that. Okay, looks like someone's saying here that his family confirmed it was him. Okay, so there you go. It is him. Well, there you have it then. There's no real question about it. This is entirely on the leadership of Minnesota. If they had actually done their jobs, worked with ICE, not allowed these crazy riots to get out of hand in the first place, none of this would have happened. And if this guy was arrested, none of this would have happened in the first place. So that's how we want to start the show this evening, guys. We're going to talk about a couple of other stories too, but before we move on from this one, I want to make sure we get some comments from people on the show. Guys, if you would like to join the show, if you want to come up here and talk, if you're on any of the other platforms, the only way you can join the show and talk is you have to go to x.com, go to @WCDispatch, and you can join the show and chime in yourself. If you guys are on any of the platforms, I can read what you have to say, but I cannot respond to it. I mean, you have to wait until I see the actual message. But outside of that, if you want to join the show and actually talk, you have to come on X and go to the space, and that's the only way you can chime in. But Chris, I just want to hear your comments on this, and then we'll talk about it for a little bit here.
Well, I mean, from day one, I have said that Pretti was not just some random dude who was just happened to be there with a camera and tried to intervene. Like, this narrative, he was just clear from day one what he was doing. It's not surprising. I knew it was inevitable, right, that these were going to come out, because once these individuals are identified, the internet sleuthers go out there and they pull video and facts and all these other things, right? And they show what legacy media wouldn't want to show. And so now it's for CNN and Fox News and others to confirm the video. And of course, it's confirmed that it's him. The tragedy in this whole thing is that from moms and nurses to university professors and down the list, these individuals are radicalized, right? They're radicalized by Trump derangement syndrome. They're radicalized by a machine on the left that has created almost like a culture of religion, to their brand, right? And the words they use, that we're seeing all these videos, right? And it's almost in parallel to what you can start to see in the early phases of jihadism in the Middle East, right? Now, obviously, that's a more extreme version, but when you have people putting themselves in front of cops, basically putting themselves in a position where they could be lose their life, it has to wonder, like, what else are we not seeing on the back end? And now that we've seen these signal chats, it makes perfect sense. They have been enabled. They're not. Most of these people are being paid. They certainly are being trained, and they feel an obligation from leaders, because we're seeing elected officials, government officials at the state level in Minnesota, for example. So overall, it's just a tragedy. And but I do love to say that I was correct in a space the other night where I laid this out, and there were some people in there who shockingly tried to debate that he was an innocent bystander. And I would have never thought some of the people that did. But the reality is we're in an information warfare. So that's just the bottom line. Everything from that to what we're probably going to be covering later when it comes to Illhan Omar in her incident, in her speech, those kinds of things. This is all part of an information warfare that is happening in Minneapolis.
Well, just watching what's going on here, just to me, when I see that there's another video of this guy, to me, that means that not only has this guy been out here, that he was kind of probably known by federal law enforcement. That's why they were probably very rough with him in the first time. So I don't know. To me, on top of that, when you go through the fact that Pretti's, his gun that he used, that he had with him and whatnot, is known for defects and known to go off without prompting, essentially. I mean, there's a great video, you guys should watch it, of he's an gun expert guy, and he sits there and he just holds the 320 and he touches the top of it, and he manages to get it to go off multiple times without ever pushing the trigger at all. So, that's worth paying attention to. If you guys are going to go out there with the guns and whatnot, make sure that you are aware of how well your firearm works and whatnot, or anything. I mean, just if you're going to carry a gun, you better know how to use it, and you better have been well trained with that same firearm. That's the only thing I'll tell people when anything to do with your own guns. Make sure your gun is useless if you've not taken it to the range and shot 1,000 rounds through it, guys. It's useless to you. It'll hinder you more than anything else. But in this scenario here, going out into the streets and fighting with federal law enforcement is a really, really bad way to get yourself into a lot of trouble anyway. Bringing a gun with you is even worse. But then doing it multiple times over and over again and then not getting any response from the local PD to actually deal with the situation properly. It's inevitable what happens when you actually don't take care of law enforcement properly. That's just reality. Okay, Keymaker, go ahead. And then I've got other people that want to come up on show.
Hey, Walter. Welcome back. I'm glad to see the political theater rocking again. I know you've been around and been posting and stuff, but a lot of people, you've been doing so well. A lot of people started sending me messages. They're like, when is Walter coming back? I miss his show. So you've been doing a great job. There's so many different topics, so many things going on. I'm super excited. I'm excited about this raid in Georgia. I'm excited about some of the reshaping of how they're doing things, bringing in Tom Homan. Like, I really thought that our voice wasn't going to be heard on a lot of these things. And the movement that I've seen says that they not only have been listening, but they've been taking this seriously the whole time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad to have your show back on, on X. I know you're streaming it as well, but yeah, it's an exciting time right now. I'm feeling positive again. I think we're moving in the right direction with a lot of these scenarios, on this Pretti situation, or however you pronounce the guy's name. I think it's very clear now, with this evidence that just showed up that, there's kind of like a little track record for this guy, that his intentions weren't so innocent, and it's just more evidence that he kicked the taillight out of the vehicle, right? Like,
listen, to me, the way that I'm looking at this is not necessarily because the idea that this guy had a continuous problem with this is one thing, but the bigger problem is that if he has, he was resisting arrest from federal law enforcement before and damaging federal property before, and he wasn't arrested. That's the real problem here. This guy would be alive right now if he was in a holding cell. I mean, that's just reality. If he would be alive right now if he had actually been arrested, if they had enforced the law as the law is supposed to be enforced, he'd be in jail. He'd be in jail and he would be alive. And that's the problem.
Yep, I agree completely, and I started calling it, the broken taillights theory, right? We got the broken. I think it was Giuliani that said the broken windows theory.
Yeah, broken windows theory, the broken taillights theory. I like it.
If you kick a taillight out of a vehicle, so especially a law enforcement vehicle, you have something has to happen. You shouldn't be able to go home that day. I mean, I understand it's not not a crazy and severe crime, but you should definitely get some cuffs, maybe some paperwork. I'm not saying he should go to jail forever for that, but it could have been the thing. But
the deal is, it's not just that. Okay, it's kicking the taillight out of a car is one thing. Okay, like that's obviously a crime. What he did, that's destruction of someone else's property. But then when the federal law enforcement come over to him, and he immediately starts fighting with them. I mean, he's fighting with them. I mean, that's what he's doing in the video. So to me, that's resisting arrest. That's it's obstructing. There is a litany of crimes that he could have been listed for there, and those crimes, if he had been charged for them, would have saved his life. That's the way to look at this. That's just reality. And it's unfortunate. It's terrible. I mean, this guy is dead because the law enforcement in that area decided that crimes don't matter, that they can just let people out and they can do whatever they want with them. I mean, this is what happens. And this is, I had a long conversation earlier just generally about the problem with not enforcing criminal behavior. I mean, the reality is that almost all of the violent crime and almost all of the crime that happens in this country is usually from repeat offenders. And if you just keep those people off the streets, violent crime goes down dramatically. And if you don't believe that, you can go look and see what George Allen did in Virginia in the 90s. Okay, he instituted the 3-strike law. And in 3 strikes, if you do violent crimes 3 times, you don't get out of prison. And then it took Richmond, Virginia, from the murder capital of the United States down to one of the safest cities in the country in 3 years. So it does work. Keeping repeat violent offenders off the streets is a very effective means. Now, this guy, I don't know if you could consider him like a repeat violent offender of any kind, but the reality is, if you have unrest in your streets and you have a guy that is consistently causing problems with them, if you just kept him in the holding cell for a month or two until law enforcement was gone, then it would be over. There would be no more altercations with him and the cops if you just left him there until, ICE picks up and moves to the next city. Because you can tell what they're doing, right? I mean, the ICE moves in a large unit. It's not just like they're moving, they're not just hanging out and they just bring a couple people in. No, it's this SRT unit, this special response tactic team that they're using and going after very specific targeted people. They move in a giant group and they go out in the communities, and they have to for some of these places because the local law enforcement won't work with them. They have to have a huge amount of force protection, which is part of the problem, really. I mean, one of the issues with this is that we have people doing force protection that are not trained. Really, the Bureau of Prisons is not somebody that I would recommend being out in the middle of the community protecting people and doing things like this. It's not what their job is. But this is what happens. You have to have some sort of protection for the ICE officers. In fact, the amazing thing about the Pretti stuff is that the ICE wasn't even involved. ICE wasn't even there. That wasn't ICE. So. This, again, to me, all avoidable. Very avoidable if local law enforcement had done their job properly and if local prosecutors were actually willing to put these people. Imagine if, all these riots and stuff you see outside of these ICE facilities. I have been to some of these, okay, guys? I've watched these people. I kid you not. They get arrested. They do something. They get arrested. They're there in 2 hours. They take an Uber from the frickin' office, the detention facility, wherever the hell it is they take them for processing. They're back there in 2 hours. I mean, if you keep those people that keep having those problems off the street until the riot is over, maybe the riot wouldn't happen. Just a thought. I mean, just maybe. I don't know. Is it that such a crazy concept that if you keep the people that keep getting arrested from staying there, that maybe they won't do it anymore? I don't feel like it's very complicated. But it's the problem with these people that are just they refuse to enforce law. They refuse to actually prosecute these people, and as a result, crazy things happen. I mean, look, when you were growing up in this country, when most of us are around reasonably in the same age bracket, I don't remember us having violent riots in the streets where those same people were able to continuously go back to those violent riots on a regular basis. That is a new thing. Okay, I mean, it's not new now. It's been going on for about 10 years now, but this didn't used to happen. The last time this happened was in the 70s. Okay, and that was the Weather Underground era, like all that stuff. That's the last time this stuff happened. But we put that stuff down and it stopped happening. I mean, that's what the FBI did. The FBI dismantled the Weather Underground. That's what the FBI is supposed to do, is supposed to deal with some of these things. But, the FBI for the past few years has obviously not been focused on dealing with any of the violence in the streets. So I don't know. This, to me, after watching the video today, this new video, to me is obvious that there's a lot of problems with this. Okay, I got two.
Well, and Walter,
go ahead.
Walter, really quick, just, I've pointed this out since day one. I was literally in California with former Weather Underground and Democrat fundraisers when they set up this, quote, progressivism in the Democratic Party. This is when they brought in George Lakoff and started to pivot away from the Noam Chomsky version. You're talking about, Jane Fonda's one of her first, I think it was actually her first ex-husband or second ex-husband, whatever. Santa Monica Renters' Rights Group. You can go down the list. These people in the room are now, some of them are members of Congress now. But back then, they were running for city council or board of aldermen in some of these towns in Los Angeles. That's how long-term vision these people had, right? I mean, it's kind of wild from my perspective to see this 20 years later. But this was in 2005 in California. So, so I mean, it's just crazy. And if people in the room, if you can please share the space, make sure you subscribe to WC Dispatch and support Walter's work. We got some great people up here that you're going to be hearing from. And feel free to come up too if you also want to comment on the stories. Go ahead, Walter.
Yep. Okay, we got two hands here, so I want to go to Jared first because I'm sure he's going to have a different perspective on this. So what's up, Jared? And then I'm going to go to Hirena.
Hey guys, hey, what's up? Back from DC. You're not stuck at the
not anymore.
So.
Yeah, of course there was 9,000 flights canceled. By the way, so I'm
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm lucky I got out. To me, I should have just zoomed in or whatever it is for the actual meeting that I was supposed to go to. But whatever. I mean, it's not that bad. Just an extra night in DC.
Did your airline get you a hotel? I hope?
No, of course not.
Oh,
no, it's American Airlines, dude. I'm lucky that I was even able to find something. They canceled it after 4 hours. I'm sitting there okay, it's delayed 7 times. Just cancel the flight already. But no. We got to wait till 12:30. So then I had to go drive around and find a hotel. It took me 2 hours to find a hotel. So I've had a total of 3 hours of sleep. Whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw your post last night. It was 11:50. I don't think anything's flying at a Ronald Reagan at that time of night. It's not too common. So I would acknowledge and say that obviously that video that came out this afternoon, pundit Anna Navarro, she said something last night on CNN I was watching. And she said that, Alex Pretti is a type of individual, type of gentleman that you would want to date your daughter. Obviously, I think that video, it's black and white, right? You obviously see a man agitating law enforcement, kicking the taillight of an unmarked law enforcement officer car. He knows there's law enforcement officers, such as ICE agents, in the car, and he's going up to them, kicking their car, destruction of property. Obviously an agitator. I also think at the same time that argument, and I came in here while you were speaking mid-sentence, so I could have missed something. But I don't think the American people are going to settle and say, just because he did something 11 days prior, that means he should also be killed, rightfully so.
Yeah,
so I don't think that's a popular argument.
No, you probably missed the first part of it, Jared, and you might
That wasn't
agree.
your argument?
No, not at all. My argument, Jared, is that because he was an agitator and doing this stuff, is that if he had been arrested and properly processed by the local authorities, that he would be alive. That's what my argument is, and it's pretty
I can't
obvious.
believe he wasn't arrested after I saw that video. Who didn't arrest him? That's the thing.
Well,
Like,
this is my point. Okay, the guy would have been arrested, and if they had kept him off the street and kept him from going back into these scenarios, he would be alive right now. But he's not, because the local PD had no interest in doing that, apparently.
I could agree. And I think there could be a question of why the ICE did not arrest him for, ICE. He was obviously making a assault on ICE. I don't know why ICE did not arrest. I mean, it's not the, yeah, sure, the locals should be helping with the feds. However, I don't think that the Minneapolis Police Department, St. Paul Sheriff's Office should be just following feds everywhere just so that they can, do their mission of deporting people. That's also not their job as well. They're city police officers. What's more interesting, Walter? I've been just following the PR, and I know I've seen a few of your posts over the last few days, and I know you even yourself have somehow even said that this administration has capitulated to Tampon Tim and Mayor Fry. And I think that's been confirmed in reports. We've seen that's been confirmed by several journalists here on X who are very close with the White House. I'm sorry?
So it looks to me like, Jared, so what they did there, they didn't capitulate, really. What they did was they moved.
You don't think so?
No.
Or you think
the reason that I was mad at them, and I didn't think it was necessary capitulation. I was mad because it looked to me like they were removing Bavino from the position that he was in. But after a bunch of noise was made about that stopped happening, actually. So that didn't happen anymore. So Bavino still has his position, and they brought Tom Homan in. And if you saw yesterday, even what's his name from Secular Talk, Tyler, I forget his last name. But he even said that the ICE operations have been ramped up. They haven't stopped at all. They're actually going out and doing even more than they were before. So it doesn't look like that has happened. It looks like they've moved Bavino out temporarily. And, to be honest with you, maybe that's a good thing for him because, his safety may be in question in a city like that. I don't know. But at the same time, looks to me like they haven't done that. So that was over the weekend. There was a bit of controversy about it. And I was getting angry with it because, to me, the reason I was only angry about the idea of Bavino is because if you want to give anybody any sort of win, that to me is a bad thing to have anything on the back pedal. We don't backpedal at all. Okay, you don't backpedal at all. That you don't give any ground at all in this scenario, because if you do that, then it emboldens the people on the streets that have been attacking and doing this stuff for weeks anyway. But it looks like that's not happening. So I'm not too concerned about it anymore.
So I actually agree on how the Trump administration, you'll be surprised. Your hair might stand up when I say this, but I actually support the administration, such as Donald Trump. I believe he did an interview yesterday with Fox's Will Cain on his program yesterday at 4:00, and Trump even said himself that we are going to quote unquote de-escalate things a little bit. So this is not coming from the left or some mainstream media. These are the words from the president's mouth. I understand that we're going to disagree on what so-called de-escalating is, but the plot and the mission, right, 1 year ago today, they were saying that they're going to send ICE agents. They're going to send all across the country in big cities and states, rightfully so, and deport illegal immigrants who have taken advantage of the system. However, we did not know that 2 American citizens within just a couple of weeks being killed in the same city, same state, same area. And, after you see the DHS chief, Miss Kristi Noem, called this guy a domestic terrorist, say he was brandishing a firearm. I know they have since, retracted those comments, but there has been damage control in this White House over the last 72 hours. That is just no disagreement.
He
there
is a domestic terrorist. You saw what he did to the ICE vehicle.
That's not a domestic. That's not domestic terrorists.
We don't need to argue about whether this guy's a domestic terrorist or not, because they retracted those comments anyway. But my point is that
Sure.
the deal is that I'm more interested in is, are they going to continue the deportation mission, which it looks like they are. So that looks like that hasn't changed one bit. So I'm not too concerned about that. Now, in terms of damage control for them, obviously it's not good press when 2 people get killed over the past couple weeks. There's no way you can really spin that into being a positive thing for us. There's no way. But the thing is, the reality is, and this video again proves it, is that if the local law enforcement had actually done something and arrested and done crowd control, because, this is not something that ICE is supposed to do, okay? One, ICE wasn't even involved in the shooting. It wasn't even ICE officers that shot the guy. I think it was either BOP or CBP. Now, those people aren't supposed to be on the streets, okay? They're not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be the job of local law enforcement. That's who's supposed to do that. But the sanctuary city policies were keeping these people from doing that. So if you want to say that it's someone's fault, I would say that it's the fact that we had to use force protection because there's no crowd control by the local PD, and the fact that this guy was not arrested even though he was destroying federal property. I mean, come on. To me,
Can I
that's
say
the
one more
problem.
thing?
You can. Go ahead.
Yeah, so all right, so yes, they obviously retracted those comments. I will just say that people in Minneapolis, right, are saying good riddance to Bonvino. He's no longer there. Him and a lot of his agents have left, right? They're like, good riddance, goodbye, you're gone. Now, Tom Homan, the left is, celebrating Bonvino going out. Obviously, Tom Homan's, he's tough as a cookie. Everyone knows that. I mean, well, if you don't know that, then you're probably just willful ignorant and you don't know who Tom Homan is. But yeah, Tom Homan, he's also a professional guy. He'll tell you how it is. He'll tell you if they effed up. He'll tell you if we need to go harder. So I do think him moving him in, I do support that. But you saw yesterday, a couple days ago, where after the phone call, they both issued statements. Walz talking with Trump, and then shortly after Walz, you had Mayor Fry also get on with Donald Trump, and they all issued statements, and they all used the word cooperation. I looked at that keyword cooperation, right? That means that they are on the same wavelength, according to Donald Trump. However, yes, the PR is that Trump did de-escalate. Trump told people to de-escalate.
Well, again, we're just saying the same thing, Jared. We're just saying the same thing you've said twice now.
Yeah, but there's a fight between Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem right now, according to Axios, because
Jared, there is one correction though. It is tough as nails. I don't know where you got the cookie from, so I did want to make that correction.
Someone said, yeah.
Well, listen, guys, we don't need to go through. We don't need to go through the same things we just said twice. So, we're not going to do that. But what I will say is that you should go look at whatever his name is, something from Secular Talk. I forget the guy's name, but he was freaking out because apparently the ICE operations have ramped up, and that's not. That they haven't slowed down at all with Tom Homan there on the scene. So
Walter,
that's
really
one
quick,
thing I'll say. Go ahead.
I'm having trouble bringing up Jordan. If you want to bring him up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can do that. Okay, but we do have another. Unless you got something, go ahead.
I also want to kind of clarify the record here real quick. There seems to be this rhetoric that Kristi Noem used the word brandishing. That's just been fact checked. Now, she did walk back some comments that she made, but she never said brandishing. That was CNN that reported it, and there was the rhetoric, the whole thing, the transcript, everything in the videos, everything that she's posted. It has completely cleared her of ever using the word brandishing. And I think that's super important because I think that's a talking point that's trying to get Kristi Noem fired by folks who just don't like Donald Trump and want to scalp. So let's go on to the next hands.
Yeah, well, just a note on this specifically and this is my point about Bovino, which is why I was kind of annoyed by the way that they were handling the Bovino scenario, which apparently was reversed very quickly. So I'm not too worried about it anymore. But my thing about it was that no capitulation, no scalps whatsoever. They don't get any. Okay. I mean, this is the only reason this happened. Any of this stuff has happened is because local law enforcement was not working with ICE. That's the only reason any of it happened. If they'd done their jobs and done what they're supposed to do, which is, the way that ICE is supposed to work, guys, ICE is supposed to show up in a city and they show up to your detention facility and you have an ICE detainer on somebody and they pick the guy up at that facility and then they drive away with him. That's it. That's all they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to have to do these ridiculous community arrests. This is only happening because of sanctuary city policies. It's the only reason it's happening. So
these leftists should consider themselves lucky. This is all we're doing, by the way.
Listen to me. The problem is the sanctuary city policies and local law enforcement not working with the feds. Okay, this is not how it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to have, the video that happened over the weekend, and we talked about it a couple days ago. The single, BOP guy standing in the middle of a hallway outside of a completely destroyed hotel covered in blood. To me, that's it. I mean, you see that kind of stuff. I was like, what the hell is going on here? What are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, that to me was enough that I would have gone 10 times harder, and I think that the people would have been behind that decision as well. They would have said, go harder, go in there and absolutely wipe things out. They chose to de-escalate. They chose to try and move Homan in there and see if that makes a bit of a difference. I'm not sure I agree with any of it, but at the same time, Homan's still there, and Homan's is still operating deportation stuff. So
they hacked their Telegram chats or whatever, Signal chats.
That's a whole nother scenario. And we're going to get into that here in a minute, because we got to talk about some of that stuff, because there's been a bunch of interesting stuff that's happened as a result of that. And the Signal chats have been exploding, and there's a bunch of stuff we can go through in that. Okay, well, I got to get to this hand real quick. Go ahead, Henrietta.
Hi, Walter. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Good. Fine. Thank you. I just wanted to say, from a nursing perspective, Pretti, he was a federal employee himself through the Department of Veteran Affairs, and he was in a highly specialized area with the most vulnerable veterans in the ICU unit. It is a secure unit. They have VA police in the hospital facilities. It is a highly specialized, because veterans have other, issues and everything too, on top of being in a critical healthcare situation. So they are very, very vulnerable patients that require a tremendous amount of specialty. And they do deserve to have nurses, and they're supposed to have nurses that are not mentally impaired, that are not violent. And you cannot be a nurse, period, and attack law enforcement and their property and the government property. And you can't be a federal employee. And they are, by all intents and purposes, federal employees, veteran nurses for the Veterans Affairs. It's not like a distant cousin or anything. They are frontline federal employees throughout the nation, trusted to care for our veterans. And he had no business in that position. He had no business doing what he was doing, of taking a gun. He's an ICU nurse. He knows all about injuries. He knows all about the risks. And he didn't have the ability to discern his actions apart from his character overall as a nurse in a very high acuity trusted position. So I'm very concerned if there's more of these out there, feeling comfortable doing those things and could be harming our veterans. I'm really concerned.
Well, listen, Henriette, there's been a number of over the past, 72 hours of nurses coming out and saying very horrific things, and then shortly afterwards being fired. There was one down at VCU Health Center that said something terrible.
Yes.
And then they were removed. And then there was another one that said something today about Caroline Leavitt having a terrible terror when she was, when she was giving birth. And that was disgusting and horrible as well. And both those people have been fired. Now, the problem with those people is that the ideology that you're subscribing to, if you're so violent about it that you're willing to wish other people harm, then yeah, you definitely do not need or deserve to be in any medical profession at all. That's true. And I don't know what those people are thinking. If you're in the medical field, you should be there to help people no matter who they are. That's the do no harm concept, right? So, okay, let's move on here. Let's go ahead, Jack Tron, and we're going to get, we got to go to a couple other stories, and I do want to talk about the Signal stuff at some point here. Go ahead, Jack Tron.
Oh, I was just going to say, we're going to be talking about other stories. We do want to, there is some updates, with the SAVE Act, if you wanted to discuss that. I just wanted to bring it up because Mike Lee just replied to me asking about, people online keeping up the pressure.
Well, we'll talk about the SAVE Act here in a few minutes. Let's go through the next story we got to talk about because Illhan Omar is definitely worth talking about here. So this is the next big story, guys, we're going to talk about. This is Illhan Omar and her, disaster that she is currently. I mean, the most recent thing that happened with her, and we're going to talk about two different things. So one, there was this video that came out of some dude spraying her with fluid or something. Like, I don't know, he like had a syringe with him and whatnot. And he showed up at this event that she was talking at, and then sprayed her with this syringe. And then he was shortly afterwards arrested. All this. The weird thing about this whole video was that she didn't like go to the hospital immediately and seek medical attention or anything. None of that happened, which is beyond me. I mean, a strange man sprays smelly fluid at you in the middle of a meeting and you keep talking, don't even go wash it off. I don't know what the hell that was. That doesn't make any sense to me. But at the same time, Illhan Omar's got all kinds of problems. So I want to play this video. This came out today from Newsmax. This is Carl Higbee on Newsmax earlier today. This is pretty important, so I want to play this whole video here. It's only a couple minutes long, so let's go through this real quick, and then we're going to talk about it.
Another major asset she listed in her financial disclosure is this winery. What does a Somali know about wineryism? Okay, that was in 2023. That was worth, according to Illhan Omar's own financial disclosure form, between $15,000 and $50,000. But on her financial affidavit from a year later, that same winery was listed at a value of between $1 and $5 million. Just real quick. Why does a Muslim own an alcohol company? I thought that wasn't a thing in Islam. Anyway, it gets weirder. Up until yesterday, Benny Johnson was able to find their supposed inventory bottles and all the things they had, their office location, and a bunch of other information on the business. But as of today, those sites are totally shut down, and any mention of their website has been wiped off the internet. I'm talking gone. The Wayback Machine, all these other crafty little archive sites, everything is gone. Like, deleted the root service. I called my computer buddy Jim. He couldn't even find it with some fancy AR jargon bot machine for recovery. I don't even know, he was explaining it to me. He couldn't even find it, which is weird that a company that boasted an award-winning wine, the quote double gold winner in 2022 San Fran Chronicle competition, with a corporate value of up to $5 million, would just vanish into thin air. They didn't sell it. Is it possible for this to be a functioning business and have absolutely no footprint, wiped from the internet, go from 1,000 net worth to 5 million in less than a year?
So that is a pretty damn good question. Okay. So, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is because, one, he made the point at the very beginning that Illhan Omar is, she is a devout Muslim apparently. And yeah, that would be against, Muslim practice to own anything to do with, anything to do with owning alcohol would not necessarily be good. But this is just another of the many problems that Illhan Omar has recently. This specifically, though, is ridiculous because the winery itself, we looked up and found the address, and it goes to like a UPS box. This is the kind of stuff you're like, I mean, come on. Like, oh, well, wait, you deleted all the stuff off of the online. I took the website down so it didn't happen. Like, what the hell? Like, what are we doing? Okay, this is the kind of stuff it's like Jubba Value Center level of stupid. Okay, that's what this is. This is Jubba Value Center level of dumb. And apparently, we're just going to pretend as if it's not happened. Illhan Omar, if she has this many problems, and the problem is that she put it on her financial disclosures, so it doesn't matter if you don't have a website anymore, sweetheart. It's on your disclosure. You said that it was worth $5 million, and then you deleted the website. That didn't just make it magically disappear. You still disclosed it. So one, I would love to know how you open a winery, and then in 2 years it's worth $5 million. I'd love to know that. Like, what kind of wine are you serving? Is it good? I want to know how great this wine is that you've aged for 2 years, and then somehow managed to make a $5 million company out of it, out of that UPS box. I'm very interested by that. So I think this is just incredible stuff from her. On top of this, we've got another story that is actually by Chris here. Chris here on the show. We actually found out that there's another name that was arrested today by Pam Bondi, and it's possible that this name is actually Illhan Omar's brother, which is just hysterical. I mean, I don't know. On top of this, the guy's name is also in the ACLU complaint that they used to get the tear gas beat. Like, they try to get a judge to keep to keep ICE from using tear gas for crowd control. The guy's listed on that same lawsuit. So what is the chances that two guys with the same name from Somalia have access? Like there's two different people. One gets arrested for interfering with ICE and stuff like that and resisting arrest and all this stuff. And apparently he's also got already has ACLU lawyer connections. Like I'm not sure there's two Somalis that have access to the ACLU legal team and would have that easy of access to it. So Illhan Omar has all kinds of problems. She's getting sprayed with apple cider vinegar and then not washing it off, so she smells terrible. She's apparently got a fake winery, and it's possible that Brother Dearest is in prison. So, Illhan Omar's got all kinds of problems, and I'm not really sure what we do about it because something needs to happen here. I mean, this disclosure, this $5 million thing right here, this is enough to me that's like, okay. And I know there's a there's an investigation going on under her right now. And, enough of the going all the way back to she married her brother to get into the country and all that stuff. Like, that's one thing. But, like, okay, whatever. Maybe you managed to get away with that somehow. And maybe that's not entirely proven, even though there's a DNA website that someone set up. And then that guy just magically ended up in prison almost immediately after that website went live. But we don't need to talk about that either. What we can talk about specifically is the fact that you have a $5 million disclosure for a company that doesn't exist. Okay, how's that? Like, you can't hide that. Okay, you put it on the paper, woman. Okay, you may have deleted the website, but you still told everybody you had it. So what are we doing? That's the only question I have here. What the hell is this? Are we going to sit there and act like it's not happening? I understand that Congress seems to like look out for each other and do something, but come on. Like, we can't have congresswomen that are just blatantly lying and just creating fraudulent businesses. And, how did her net worth go from being a couple $100,000 to $30 million over just a couple years? It's impossible to do that, people. I mean, unless you created the next, major product software or something that, that changed the planet, you can't just magically increase your net worth by, 30,000%. That doesn't happen. So
Yeah, but
this is amazing.
Is nowhere near smart enough to do that.
Well, listen to me.
I'll be honest with you. You would pretty much have to create the new Claude, and even at that, it would still be like maybe 10 million you're worth. Maybe like it's a big stretch to do something like that. Well,
the company, whatever company it was that you had that did that evaluation, that would be what's worth money. You wouldn't be worth it. I mean, the company itself would be worth it. I mean, but the deal is she doesn't have some company that's worth $30 million and or has done anything impressive or interesting. And apparently, she's got a winery that doesn't exist that's at a UPS box. Some of the best wine I've ever had has been out of the UPS box. I go to the UPS store and they have it right there. That's the place I buy my wine.
I heard FedEx is much better.
Oh, FedEx wine. That's true. That's a tier above. It's like Yellowtail and, anyway, I mean, we don't need to make any more jokes.
Yeah, no, I just think it's crazy because even if you put it into like, if you start doing the math, right, you'd have to be selling like $500 like bottles of wine, which is like 1912 wine, and there's no way she's acquiring stuff like that. There's just no way. You'd have to import it, and then on top of that, you would have to like file for this. I don't understand like how this is even possible. And there's multiple different people in Congress, Democrat and Republican, that have done this, to be honest with you.
And that's like, the problem.
How are you worth this much?
Well, and that's the problem. Okay, so not only that, apparently this same business doesn't even have an alcohol license from the federal government. So, it can't even exist. So, again, we're like, it can't even exist. So it's amazing.
Only in Little Mogadishu, right?
Apparently.
I mean, here's the thing, Chris, is that like my family owns a winery and that's in Sonoma Valley. And let me tell you, like the hoops that we've had to jump through for that, we literally have had to have somebody physically there almost 90% of the year for that to thrive. There's no way that you're living in, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you have a vineyard that's doing $5 million. Like, it's impossible. It's just impossible.
Yeah, well, I mean, but like you mentioned selling $500 bottles. Like how many? Like how many?
That's what I'm saying. Like
you're selling $500 million bottles. Like there's like, I mean, this is, you got to sell millions of bottles to be able to do this. I mean, let alone the fact that a $500 bottle of wine is like only like, you're talking from the, the French area. What the hell are they called? Bordeaux. You're talking about red Bordeaux. Like, I mean, you're selling that quality of wine in just a couple years. Like, okay, sure. I mean, your winery's been open for 2 years. Like, I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing stuff.
I can honestly tell you, Walter, you and I have dined together. Bro, most 5-star restaurants don't even have Bordeaux's in there. Like, if you do, you have to call before and they will acquire it for you a week ahead of time. You're not just going to walk in there and say, yeah, I want that $500 Bordeaux. They're going to say, we can give you a glass, but that's it.
Well, and Walter and Jordan, did they even discover if she had any wine? Because last I heard, there was no product.
No, you can't go on the website at all and acquire anything. Like Benny Johnson, I think the one that went on there, and he's like, you can't even buy anything. There's nothing there. So it's one of those things
but they
where...
won the double gold award. Okay, the double gold. I mean, like, it's so stupid. Like, this is just, you know, like, let's make up an award and then give it to our winery that doesn't exist. Just put it on the website. Like, it's just so dumb. Like,
why my question is why are they allowed to do this? And then, like, let me just say honestly, an American citizen does that, and let me tell you, you are in jail, ass up, in like 5 minutes. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, alcohol, tobacco, firearms is absolutely coming for you in that scenario if you're an American citizen, like, hands down. And, you know, let me answer this. This is a serious question. What's up with the fake awards in Somal and Little Mogadishu? Remember the fraudulent daycares? Didn't they have like a 1-star award? Like a 1-star?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about going to the daycares, is that they had a 1-star quality award, and lots of these places put it on the front of their building. And I was very confused because there was the 1-star, but then there was the outline for like 5, but they were all advertising that they had the 1. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, we never did figure that out. I meant to go back and look into that, but I never did figure out why the 1-star quality award was so important. I mean, maybe because in Somalia the flag has 1 star, that's just everything to them, so they assume 1 star is brilliant. I mean, it didn't make much sense to me. I mean,
that's a fair point.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, but it was only on the
stars is better.
It was only on the ones that looked like you would never go anywhere near them that had the 1-star awards, by the way. It was like, you know, you pull up to the lot and you're like, okay, do I have my gun? All right, and we can get out now. I mean, like, that's how bad some of these places were. But the 1-star quality was on the building. So, but again, she got the double gold award at this winery that you can't buy wine from. So I'm not sure how you get an award for wine that you don't sell and don't have, but. You know, that's
she should probably get the triple award.
Well, listen to me. I don't know, but apparently none of this stuff exists. And then they took the website down. Like, oh no, it's not there. We don't have that anymore. Like, you put it on the disclosures. Like, it exists. I mean, like, screenshots exist, sweetheart. I mean, I don't know how to tell this to you. I mean, like, I know it's difficult to understand, but this is not good for you. So I again, this is the kind of stuff that you go, okay. Are we going to do something about this? Is something going to happen? Is there going to be a DOJ investigation? There is an investigation, but what about into that specifically? Can we get some answers here? Can I at least get a bottle to try it? I mean, I'd like to see how this double gold award is. I mean, at least let me try a bottle. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is the double gold and it's fantastic and it's, you know, it's the greatest wine ever and it's $18,000 a bottle and they only sell like 100 cases a year or something. I mean, like, I don't know. This is ridiculous.
I mean, technically, you paid for it because you're the American taxpayer.
Right.
So I think you deserve a glass at least.
Listen, if I don't get a bottle out of this, I'm going to be pissed. Okay. I mean, I at least deserve a bottle. I mean, that's. I think that should be.
It's probably being shipped with the 7 metric tons of money.
That's right.
To be honest with you.
It's probably being shipped out with it. That's what each bottle. So when you send out your $1 million duffel bag, you get a free bottle of wine with it. That would explain it. So maybe it's like that's percentage of each of those $1 million duffel bags. That's how the business is worth $5 million. You get that bottle of wine, and that's what they're really currying. You're paying for that bottle. That's what that $1 million duffel bag is. It's just one bottle of that wine. Goes out, and that explains everything. Okay, I understand.
It reminds me of Hunter Biden's paintings.
Yeah, the ATF's head is probably spinning over.
But the $1 million suitcase, Walter, is in cash is not for the bottle of wine. It's for the note, the IOU in an envelope for future wine.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. It's like Dumb and Dumber.
Listen, I hope that they said, you know, I hope they do what the Quality Leering Center did, is they just randomly set up a building and they paint the walls and it's brand new. You know, I loved that video, the Leering Center, when they finally let somebody inside there, and the person's comment that posted the video was like, you can smell the paint. Like, it's oh man, how funny would that be if you just they set up some random place like, oh no, it's a real winery, check it out. Like, and they got like buckets of grapes or something like that. I would just love that. That would make my day. Okay.
And they have Gavin Newsom sitting there at the back table with his friends just to make it more authentic.
Yes, absolutely.
So they did confirm. The suspect, 55-year-old Anthony Karsmishchak, his brother said that he's hated the Somali community for years, and that he was a right-wing extremist. That came from his brother.
Exactly. But his kids are not, and his ex-wife worked for Illhan Omar. So like, give me a freaking break.
And
wait. Hold on, just a second here. So we're going back to the guy who sprayed vinegar on, just so people are aware. We do have listeners here, people. Can we just jump in? So let me just. So Jared is referencing the guy that sprayed apple cider vinegar on Illhan Omar, and then she also just kept talking and didn't go wash it off or go to the hospital at all, because that's a normal reaction when you're sprayed with a foreign substance by a man that you don't know.
No,
you just stand there.
She charged at him with her fist and got right in front of him, even though she just got sprayed with a substance. And then they pull her back and they started saying, "Oh my gosh, she was shot with a substance." And she says, this is the transcript. She says, "Somebody get me a paper towel." At which point, giant Muslim bodyguards show up and they're like, we need to consider taking you. And she's like, "No, I'm going to finish my speech. They are not going to force me to be quiet." And then the other ladies are yelling, "Oh my gosh, but what if you got shot with something?" And she continues her speech.
Yeah, so this is the problem, okay? Like, this is the problem, okay? If you're a sitting congressman or any person of high note in the world, and random lunatic you've never seen sprays you with an unknown substance, the reaction is not, "No, I'm just gonna hang out for a little bit. Don't worry about it. We're just gonna keep talking. I got stuff to say. I got a lot to talk about, and I got a lot of stuff. I got a winery to run, so I can't leave. I have to finish my speech. I have a lot of wine to sell."
Walter,
I've got to make up
the normal reaction. That is the normal reaction. I'm not sure how many town halls you guys have. Hey, here, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Jared.
I have a different perspective. I'm not sure.
I would love to hear this different perspective. I'm listening.
I'm not sure how many town halls you guys have hosted. I haven't hosted any, but I will say
I've put them together. Go ahead.
If someone sprayed me with some type of substance that I don't know what it is, I'm not going to let my enemy win and be embarrassed and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to go to the local hospital." No, don't let the damn enemy win.
Well, all right.
Don't let the enemy win.
Jared,
she's a badass.
Jared,
no,
listen to me.
She is not a badass.
Stop. Let me finish here. So here's the problem with this, Jared. If some random lunatic in the middle of my town hall interrupted my town hall with a syringe and sprayed me with a syringe, my immediate reaction was that cyanide? I mean, who knows? What are you talking about? "Oh, I'm going to finish my speech." Are you crazy? No, you go get that
supporters.
Your supporters You're not going to look embarrassed, Jared. You're
going to get lifted on the stretch.
All right, stop. Okay, you keep interrupting, so I can't let you just keep talking over me. No, it's not embarrassment if some lunatic sprays you with a syringe and you go get checked at the hospital immediately. Your supporters would be like, "What the hell? Arrest that guy." But no, she stood there, "Oh, I'm going to give my speech." What? No, this is not the normal reaction from anybody. That is not how you respond to this at all.
And by the way, I agree, though, Walter. Hold on, Jared. Look, the bodyguard needs to be fired. We're skipping right by that. He was on his cell phone the whole time. I don't care what else is going on right now. Why ain't he lose his job? Come on, I think he was in on it, too.
Can we all agree that she's at least a victim? And Walter, I'm trying to picture Walter. I'm trying to picture you getting lifted on the hospital from being sprayed.
So Jared,
I'm just trying to visual it.
Jared, I know we're doing this whole whatever that you're doing, and I'm sure you'll get in the future a very expensive Somali bottle of wine, grown in Little Mogadishu.
It better be hard liquor. It better be hard liquor.
No, it's wine. It's wine. It's fictional wine.
It's fictional wine. It's fictional wine.
But here's
the wine place is closed, Chris.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. Members of Congress, when they're shot with substances, don't have a choice.
Yeah, seriously.
Their security forces them to leave and get checked. So that's the first clue that you have here. The second clue is obviously the background begins to get run. They have already pulled this guy's entire background. His spouse, his ex-spouse, worked for Illhan Omar, was a political strategist for Democrats in the area there. Political strategist, we can just call that activist who volunteered or maybe got paid on the campaign or something. Who knows what it is? I haven't had time to run down the list. But you can also see a whole host of other things. The bottom line is, this is classic. This is a classic scenario by someone who is embattled and literally she's under investigation on multiple fronts. Let's put aside the immigration situation with her brother. Let's just put that aside in a second. The issue pertaining to her husband's consulting company, like he had to remove all of the board members who were directly tied to Barack Obama's administration. Those all had to come off. That's clue number one, that she was in deep shit when that order comes down and she has to do that. Clue number two, a fake winery. Okay. And now we have her, her daughter just got arrested in the pro-Hamas rallies last year. Now we have a potential sibling here who had ACLU legal protection. By the way, this was the case, just for some folks who don't know, this was the case where the judge in Minneapolis recently ruled that ICE and Border Patrol can't do any pepper spray or anything to the protesters that could potentially cause bodily harm or harm in general. And of course, it eventually gets thrown out, right? And so this Abdikar, or whatever the first name was one of those individuals on that lawsuit, and now he's been arrested, right?
So again, the point being here, though,
we're moving the goalposts.
No. Hold on here. Whoa. Okay, Jared, I like you, buddy, but I'm going to tell you right now that this whole talking point that you're trying to say that she was embarrassed for getting squirted with a random liquid and then standing there and not acting like that is the most absurd thing I've ever heard, and no one believes that. Okay, like no one even remotely buys that, and that's just not going to work for anybody. I promise you. Anybody that gets squirted with a syringe, it's not like he had a bottle of water and he threw it in her face, okay? That's not what happened. He had a syringe, a physical syringe, and he squirted her with a physical syringe and then stood there and held the syringe around for a minute or two. Like, no. Okay? Syringe, poison, you don't know what the hell it is. Even if, like you said, this guy was a right-wing extremist, which is not, I have seen zero proof of that.
I did not say that. Hold on. The brother said that.
Whatever. When you referenced it, okay? Referencing him being a right-wing extremist, I don't give a damn, okay? The guy, if he shows up and squirts unknown substances on Congress people, should be arrested no matter what he does, no matter where he's from. But the point being is that she just continued to stand there, okay? No. That's not how this works. Random person that shows up, sprays you with unknown substance from syringe, you go to the hospital. Normal people would go to the hospital, let alone a freaking congresswoman. They'd be, what? If some lunatic in the street sprayed me with a syringe, I'd be in the hospital immediately. I mean, this is insane.
Walter, you know how you can tell it wasn't a right-wing extremist? You can tell it wasn't a right-wing extremist because they would have used warm bacon grease.
Okay, but Walter, the other
was apple cider vinegar.
But hold on a second. You guys also know that the other thing everyone's passing by in this situation is, even if she wanted to finish her speech, right, you would have to clear the room. You'd have to clear the room and verify what the substance was before allowing anybody else to come in. That's standard operating procedure.
But not if you know that it's apple cider vinegar, Chris, which is what my thing is. Like the concept that, like, this is the most absurd thing in the world to me. Like, there is no argument to me. Like, it'd be one thing if she immediately, that's what doesn't make any sense about this. If she was trying to play this up as something, she should have just gone straight to the hospital. Like, she should have. Like, if she'd gone directly to the hospital immediately afterwards, that would have looked great for her in terms of the victim thing, like the victim idea, like being assaulted by random person. That would have actually looked solid for her. This looks very fake and very dumb, is what this looks like.
She's just trying to gain sympathy for herself, and even Trump came out and said she probably faked it. Like,
the FBI has launched an investigation.
Okay, Jared, everybody already understands, Jared. Okay, you're gonna get your future bottle of wine. Look, the FBI has to launch an investigation. It's not the FBI, actually. It's the Capitol Police who may have. Okay, let me finish. The Capitol Police who may have called in the FBI to investigate. The bottom line is that if you're shot with a little substance, and by the way, I don't think anybody's played the clip of the guy when he does it. He goes, jihadi, jihadi. He whispers jihadi. He doesn't yell jihadi. You know, I mean, like this, everything about it is
it's so
not
fake.
right-wing.
Listen to me. Listen
so
again.
fake and gay.
We don't need to continue to go through this. I'm just going to go ahead and say that no normal person with any remote sense around them believes that you get sprayed with foreign substance from syringe. Okay, like again, the syringe part is very crucial to me here. Okay, syringe. He had a syringe and he sprayed you with the syringe. Okay, you go to the hospital when that happens. What the hell was in the syringe? It's
This
the
is a
weirdest thing
member
I've
of
ever heard.
Congress. Yeah, the security would have got her out of there ASAP.
So think very
Well, to
hard.
be
So
fair,
think very
Jared's
hard.
going-
Hold on a second, guys. We're not going to all jump on each other. Go ahead, Walter.
Yeah, it just guys, there is no argument here. Okay, it's a syringe. You go to the hospital. You go get checked. Like she didn't even seem to wipe it off. Like I mean, like, this is the most absurd thing ever. Okay, this it is so fake, and it is poorly fake, and that's the problem with it. You could have played it up. She could have easily done it if she had gone straight to the hospital, but she didn't. She didn't go straight to this. She raised her fist as if she was going to go fight the guy, and then stood there like, "Oh no, I'm just going to finish my speech." Like what?
Just know, if I get sprayed with
Walter.
a biological substance, I'm not going to punch the guy in the face. Like that's just automatic.
Badass. All 110 pounds of her. Like what?
That's yes. Who does she think she is? Jason Bourne? Like, come on, man.
No. She
Yeah,
is-
that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother problem
That's what
here.
he wants.
That's something we haven't even discussed. Like the concept of
she thinks
random.
that she's Teddy
Guys,
Roosevelt.
hold on a minute, here, guys. Like it is a genuine problem with the way that was handled. Like raising your fist and walking towards random assailant who just sprayed you with strange fluid is also not a wise decision. If they like, I mean, seriously, she's like 100 pounds. Okay, if this dude was some lunatic and he just sprayed her with a fluid, why would she walk towards him? That's very stupid. Okay, very, very
So
dumb.
Walter, you want her to go to jail for staging the attack?
I mean, Jared,
Dude,
you have to
political
think about
stunts
this.
happen.
Imagine she got sprayed with butane, and the next thing he does is throw a lighter at her. Like, come on, like it's
True, that's a
foreign
good point.
substance.
So you guys are in unison that she staged the attack.
Jared, here's in unison. Okay, that the left is trying to throw a fit about someone with a syringe spraying apple cider vinegar going jihadi, but they have no problem with their paid agitators and rioters throwing unknown substances on conservative reporters, on ICE, on Border Patrol, and have no problem beating doors down and making people bleed. They have no problem putting themselves in harm's way for criminal pedos and illegal pedos. and
Listen,
illegal
guys,
criminals.
again,
That's the problem with the left.
Listen, there's genuine problem with just overall here is that one, this is the stupidest story ever. And no, Jared, you wouldn't go to prison for staging a political stunt. Politicians stage political stunts all the time, and some of them are equally stupid, but this just happens to be extraordinarily stupid. So that's the problem with this one.
Involving the FBI. So if she and her, hold on, Chris, hold on. Let me just get a word out. So if she and her team are obviously, alleging that an attack happened to the FBI, that would be a crime to obviously, stage something. So we'll see if there's indictments.
People can allege
indictments
anything
come
to
down.
the FBI, Jared. Okay, that does not mean jack crap. You could call the FBI right now and say, "I hurt your feelings. I whatever, fill in the blank." The FBI would field it, and you could put something out and say, "Oh, so and so's under investigation for this or this or that." Like that's standard left wing protocol.
Anyway,
no one cares. Let's go to Honey Badger.
we got to go to some other people here, but I just again, guys, there is no way to spin this as normal. Like, I mean, just say, "Oh yeah, I got sprayed with something." All right, let's keep talking. Like, what the fuck? What are you talking? Go ahead, Honey Badger.
Whomever benefits most, there's there's your culprit, but no one would have known about this, about this speech she was giving. Nobody would have known about it hadn't it been for this. So all things definitely point to some in her direction of getting attention onto herself while while framing the right in a way that they were desperate to need to because of all of the antics of the left and like what Chris just pointed out, all the horrible things that these crackpots have done in the streets to the ICE agents and reporters. This was their shot.
Well, they took their shot and it squirted and missed. So I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think it worked. the squirt that was heard around the world, I guess. I mean, I don't know. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, it just, the whole concept is stupid. But then again, maybe if you've got a fake winery, this is just the kind of stuff that you do. Okay, Henry, go ahead.
Hey, what's happening to you? The squirt here heard around the world is tremendous. That's a great one. I got to use it with my friends. Does this strike you that possibly it was some kind of attempted mimicry of what happened to Trump? Like to kind of like gin up the same kind of sympathy, and then it's kind. I thought it was kind of brilliant today because as I was thinking about it, it might be the dumbest idea in the world, but I was like, so if anybody calls it fake, then they could just turn right around and call Trump's assassination fake, which they were trying to do for so long. You know what I mean? It's like a catch-22.
Well, I mean, the big difference between Trump's assassination is that there was firing shots and people that died, and this guy had a syringe full of apple cider vinegar. So that would be the key difference there, I think. I'm not sure that there's really that much relation to it, calling it fake one way or the other. People died in the attempt on Trump's life. Illhan Omar didn't even change her sweater. So I'm not even sure that it's really similar, but that's okay.
No, I'm with you, but it's like we heard the big song and dance. Oh, for heaven's sakes, what was that kid from that with the noose around his neck and all that? I had his name a second ago and it just escaped me.
Juice Smollier, the greatest Subway sandwich culprit of all time. Yeah.
And by the way, everybody,
Jesse
it was trending earlier. Illhan Smollier. So I mean, that was trending. Just so we're clear.
Oh my goodness!
I'm being 100%
this
serious.
is MAGA country.
I'm being 100% serious. It absolutely was trending.
Vinegar fucking country or whatever, dude. That's so.
It's wine country, dude. It's wine. Okay, it's wine country.
Exactly.
Future wine country.
Future. That's right. Fictional wine country.
It looks like Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know if you guys seen this. I just saw this. This is crazy breaking. Tulsi Gabbard. I know you guys are going to talk about the FBI.
Wait. Hold on a second, Jared. We're not shifting subjects yet. We'll eventually get to that.
We'll get to the L's. We'll get to the L's, Jared.
We're not going to
skip any of them.
Well, I mean, guys, to be honest with you, like, as funny as the squirt heard around the world is, we don't need to continue to discuss it because it's retarded. I mean, like, it's the dumbest story ever, and no one believes that this is even remotely normal. Like, I'm sorry, like, you can't convince me in any capacity that being squirted with a syringe in public means you don't go to the hospital. There's no way to convince me of any of that. So what is this next story, Jared? What do you have?
Well, her Republican colleagues of Illhan Omar are believing this story's true. So
I don't give a damn.
Well,
listen, there's lots of stupid. There's lots of stupid people. There's more stupid people than non-stupid people. That I can assure you. And unfortunately, anybody who believes that there's someone being squirted with a syringe in public and doesn't immediately go seek medical attention, you're retarded. I mean, like, there's just no question about it to me. So anyway, we can continue on here.
And at minimum, clear the room. Like, let's be real honest here. At minimum, clear the room. So, like, come on.
Especially at a public event.
She did it in the situation that took place. There are going to be people that are going to look into it because obviously it was a member of Congress, and the media will do whatever it's going to do because no one cares about the media anymore. And the reality is that we're still in square one, where we got a lot of problems in Minneapolis, and Illhan Omar needed some sort of sympathy because she's under federal investigation on multiple fronts. Very serious federal investigation.
All right, so hold on a minute here. Just curious question here. What are you talking about Tulsi Gabbard for? What is she saying here?
Yeah, so apparently, earlier we were all talking about the raid that happened in Georgia. There was and I'll even say it was a court-ordered search warrant. But it's being reported that DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard was spotted at the Fulton County, Georgia election site, where the FBI raided today, seizing ballots, pulling computers, and digging into 2020 fraud claims. So they were coming out with cell phones and regular stuff that FBI agents.
Yeah, but Tulsi being there is an interesting bit. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I was.
You what's not being stated right now, and which I will tell you, Walter, is the case, is that under oath. Well, actually, I got to pull the gentleman's name, but basically, he was the former head of Dominion, admitted under oath in his I guess deposition or whatever it was, that he was cooperating with foreign interests.
No,
he was coordinating with
until they got Maduro.
Is
Maduro's behind this stuff.
Guys, One at a time, please. You have to remember we're broadcasting multiple places. Who said what there? I don't understand. Go ahead.
I was saying, did you notice how they did it? They didn't start any of the election fraud stuff until they got Maduro, because Maduro has ties to the whole Dominion and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's how he
Well,
was rigging
there was an interesting bit here that kind of went under the radar, but there was a theory that was floated couple days after the Maduro incident that happened. It didn't get a whole lot of attention, but I thought it was worth noting that it was possible, and this is just a rumor that I've seen and heard, that Maduro was actually being held captive by the Cubans, and that he was being brought back specifically to help with some of this stuff, which, I mean, I don't know. My problem with that is that he's saying John Legend's Imagine, which means that he should have been shot. I mean, that's just the natural reaction to anybody that sings that song in public, especially if you're a foreign leader. That's the only way. In fact, we should send the Marines to every country that does that. But anyway, so now I don't know. I mean, it's possible that this stuff is all related, but the fact that DNI was actually at this location is actually pretty funny. So I don't know. I mean, what the hell's she doing there? That means that there's something interesting happening. Was there actually photos of that?
Yeah, there's photos of it. I'll put it down I'll put it down in the purple pill, Walter.
It was on Brett
Baer's so it was former Dominion executive Eric Coomer has admitted to working with foreign actors in the 2020 election per court records. He was deposed yesterday. He also refused to answer some questions about Old Dominion, the old company Dominion. He refused a few questions on that, and he's apparently regained memory on a few things that he claimed he did not recall, or maybe testified to the opposite in the past. And so a lot is changing on that front very quickly.
Well, I mean,
the people he said he was working with were Serbian nationals.
That's good. Just who we want.
Which would link up with some previous reporting. Sorry, about some servers in Serbia that were housing the Dominion equipment, connected to the Dominion systems.
And we can't remember that story. There was a story that happened sometime around the election that, the night of the election, that there was like some raid that happened. Do you guys remember hearing about this?
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Yeah, this kind of stuff to me is always interesting because there's zero proof that we actually have the physical evidence of this to be able to say that this sort of stuff happened. But it's like, I don't know, Serbian nationals, Dominion, midnight raids right before the election in foreign countries. It's exciting shit. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's true or not. I have no idea, but it's very entertaining.
Walter, here's the situation. Here's the thing, though, right? Like, if everyone's being on the up and up, there hasn't been a level reporting when it came to the situation in 2020 and also in some of the midterm elections, right? And so the fact that this is just now coming out, almost 6 years later, so 5.5 years later, should tell you that there's a problem in our journalism in this country, and there was also a problem in our federal government in this country, and so by every standard across the board when it comes to the way that elections have been hosted in 2020, in 2024, and in the midterms, generally speaking, that would not pass the muster according to our own State Department standards in foreign countries, right? But in the United States, it was allowed to occur. So we'll see where this is going. I mean, I'm all for it. And you know what? And I don't care. I want people held accountable for what took place in 2020 because I believe the most important right we have is an American right to vote, whether you choose to vote for Sleepy Joe or you choose to vote for Trump or whoever. Your vote matters. And when a machine steals your vote or an illegal immigrant steals your vote, they have just disenfranchised the most important right you have as an American.
I agree. Well, there's also there's a number of other things happening with voting. The voter rolls have been. Did you guys see the story that came out of Wisconsin that apparently 7 million people are on the registered voter rolls in Wisconsin, even though there's only 4 million people that live in Wisconsin? That's interesting. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah, there was something else, Walt, with this in. Sorry, go ahead, Pepe.
No, go ahead, Henry. He must have cut in. Go ahead, Henry.
Yeah. No, the other couple things, and I'm sure you guys might have seen this, but in case you haven't, Walt, I think on a similar note, wasn't there 800,000 yesterday that were also identified in, I believe, Washington State?
There was 800,000 that got removed from the rolls in Portland, which I thought was pretty interesting, by the way. The fact that they just agreed to that. I mean, I thought that was kind of wild that Portland went ahead with that, which to me, that tells me that there's other things happening behind the scenes that we can't see at all when you've got places like
Right.
Portland that just completely agree with the idea of wiping 800,000 people off their voter rolls. Something's happening. Okay. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is because we're never going to find out because this sounds to me like it's a whole tier above anybody on this show. This is high level geopolitical stuff. If it is, I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it's all just bullshit. But I mean, the fact that 800,000 people got wiped off the rolls, the fact that there's double registrations essentially than people that exist in Wisconsin, all of that stuff's pretty interesting to me. Things are happening, and what that means, I don't know. But I'll tell you that 300,000 in Fulton County in Georgia. There's 800,000 in Portland that got taken off. There's double the voter rolls in Wisconsin. How many votes exist out there that we don't know? And this seems kind of like a problem to me. So I don't know.
What's interesting in Georgia is like where I'm looking at to see if like there's going to be indictments, because obviously it looks like they took 700 boxes outside of the voting center today in Fulton County. I was wondering maybe there'll be indictments or charges down the road, which is obviously possible after a search warrant. Obviously, that was Donald Trump's last effort, right? I was looking at Rudy Giuliani's post here on X just now, and he was saying that, something's up. Rudy Giuliani has been very measured in his comments. Let's just say that over the last 2 years. It's just interesting. Fulton County was like an effort that Trump and his lawyers exhausted, even when that runoff happened in 2022 with Warnock and Ossoff. So it's just very interesting to see why they did it there.
Exhausted is a very loose word that you use there, because anybody who has followed Fulton County knew that your standard recall process was not exhausted. And
Trump was a defendant there, right? Him and his crackpot lawyers.
Okay,
him and his crackpot lawyers.
Oh my God! Hold on a minute here. So just the comments where we get like the intentional dig in there to try and use the term crackpot lawyers, even though that's not accurate even remotely.
They pled guilty.
Yeah.
A lot of them pled guilty to.
Yeah, they pled guilty.
God,
they pled guilty. Some of these people refused to plead guilty, and they just got prosecuted anyway. And then all of that stuff got dropped. Every single one of those things got thrown out.
Some of them threw Trump under the bus.
Yeah, I know, and he still managed to give those people grace later in. So again, we don't need to go through all the relitigate 2020. What's more interesting is the things that are happening currently. Okay, currently they believe that they're going after search warrants in Fulton County. Now, what you're going to find in Fulton County after 6 years and all this stuff, I don't know. But they did it for some reason. And if DNI is there, there's a whole nother reason that's interesting. So things are happening. And whether you agree with what happened in 2020 or not, Jared, it doesn't really matter. The reality is that there are very interesting things happening to the voter rolls right now. 800,000 getting thrown off in Portland, double registrations, Wisconsin. What about Arizona? What about all these other states? If there's a lot more voters than actually people that exist, that's kind of a problem. I mean, we need to fix that problem.
Yeah, and Walter, I'll point out that, I want to ask everybody this in here. Like, have you ever seen the DNI ever at any investigation on U.S. soil ever under any president, right? Have you ever seen that before? So I think there is an optics thing going on here. I think there's a message behind allowing her to even be photographed there. I mean, there's plenty of ways that you can keep somebody from being photographed if she wanted to be there in a clandestine way, but they made it very clear that she's there. And they made a nice little picture of her, and the whole world knows that she was there now. So
it's
interesting.
Key, this is why I've said from day one that they went really hard after Tulsi Gabbard when she was first being, well, first of all, when she endorsed President Trump, and then after when she was in the administration and in the hearings, they tried to do everything they could to block that process, to be quite frank, because people need to refresh their memory. Tulsi Gabbard was the head of the DNC in 2016. Tulsi Gabbard was one of the leaders in the congressional caucus all the way up until she was no longer in Congress. Tulsi Gabbard also was placed on like terror watch lists and a host of other things, and had
a dozen
fucking faggot. Hey, okay, man. All right, there we go. Anyway, they
well, that was entertaining. I don't even know who that was.
Terror watch list, and then and she had like a dozen. I think it was reported actually that her and her fiance had a dozen agents following her everywhere she went. So yeah, it's probably very clear why Tulsi Gabbard's there, and it's also going to be karma when the truth comes out.
Well, Chris, can I follow up with you on two items? First, and this is just let me just throw them at you, and then I'll meet back up. The first thing is what is obvious about that? Because I guess maybe I'm not picking up what you're putting down regarding Tulsi, and perhaps I'm not the only one in the room. And number two, you had mentioned earlier too when you were talking about that somebody who had just, what was it, Moon, for heaven's sakes, the name with two O's, like OON. There was it
Coomer.
Yeah, was it that person, or was it somebody else associated with that case that was deported recently?
I don't know about that.
I saw a post today about that from one of the news things that's saying like somebody was deported because of the results of that situation.
I have no idea. That I haven't heard yet.
I haven't heard that either. As a reference to your first question, let's remember that that Hillary Clinton in 2016 lost the election. Okay, and in that primary, she tried to make Tulsi Gabbard out to be a Russian agent. And then after the election, and since, she has never accepted the results of the election. And then they started to utilize, it was in 2018, actually. Jared, please stop interrupting. All right, she in 2018 is when Dominion really started going to work on the midterm elections. So we've actually had multiple Senate seats and even a few House seats that have been decided in areas that tend to have Dominion machines. And then, of course, we have, Arizona and Fulton County, specifically Maricopa County and Fulton County, that decided the 2020 election. And there are people that will swear that it is statistically probable to have 100% of the votes come in and a sharp spike towards one person and 0 votes to another person. That's totally probable, right? Except the fact is that they continued to say that Trump was a Russian asset and that Russia was helping Trump with the electronic voting machine.
Well, but we also know that the ICA that came out, that they intentionally, altered that at this point. I mean, that's pretty clear from the documents in there that Brennan himself specifically went and found a single sentence in a single signet intelligence, packet, essentially, and managed to use that. That's, if you guys go back, we've got tons of reporting on that. I mean, that's a year old at this point. There's nothing new on that, really. But the reality is that all of that stuff was proven. Okay, we knew this stuff back, when it happened. Essentially, some of us out here knew it, but then it was all proven to be accurate. Which the bigger problem with that all to me is that, none of those people were in prison yet, especially Brennan.
Right.
That's, I have a huge issue with that.
Yeah. Jordan and Walter, do you guys remember when Hillary Clinton called Trump the night of the election? I mean, you can't just lie with impunity. Hillary Clinton literally said,
Jared,
hold on. Let me have this real quick here. First of all, foremost, Jared, I came up with the Mook Mafia. I know Marlon Marshall and Robbie Mook personally. Okay, she had the best campaign team ever assembled on the Democratic side of the aisle and still lost because she was a terrible candidate. And she did concede to President Trump on the night of the election.
Thank you.
She absolutely did concede to President Trump, and then proceeded to say that President Trump didn't fairly win the election, and proceeded to go on for this whatever crazy tour for the last 10 years as if she was robbed of the election. And, and so that's just the reality.
Well, what my favorite story about Hillary Clinton, I love telling this story because it makes me happy, was that when she wrote her book and the title of the book was What Happened, there was a great story that came out from a staffer that was working for Bill at the time. And she told him the title of the book, and he said, he laughed at her and said, yeah, what happened? You lost. And now I'm sure that I just wish I could have seen that. And I would love to know exactly what Hillary's response was when Bill told her that she lost the election, and that was the stupidest name for her book, because what happened, you lost, it's a pretty obvious conclusion to that book. I mean, you don't really need, you go to the final page, I lost. I think that's all you need to write there. But I just can't imagine how funny that must have been to watch. And that staffer, I mean, I fear for their lives. Hillary will probably find them in a box somewhere. Okay, we got a bunch of hands. So let's go ahead, Keymaker, and then I got a couple other people I got to get to. Go ahead, Key.
Yeah, I just want to say that, Democrats are going to be having a really, really hard time. There's so many L's just stacking up now. And I think that they're getting emotional and they're starting to try and rehash like old topics and subjects and narratives. And I don't think it's going to work. I think that the amount of L's that they're taking right now is it's unreasonable. And if it was like a boxing match, I would say, they need to sit down in the corner for a minute and then catch their breath, maybe have a sip of water, and then, come back back when the next round starts.
Well,
And I'll leave it.
well, I'll tell you that people that are giving the Democrats as if they're on this back foot, I would not suggest that at all, to be honest with you. The Democrats are obviously mobilizing, and they're doing a very good job at mobilizing, and you need to be paying a lot more attention if you think that they're going to lose, because I don't ever, you don't ever even remotely believe, and I tell everybody we're losing. Okay, like that's the only way to tell people we're losing. You better be out there in the streets and doing whatever the hell you can, because if you don't do that, the Democrats will. Okay, they're very good at keeping their people engaged. They're very good at keeping their people mobilized. I mean, listen to me. They've managed to create so many stories that are just complete nonsense. Like the kid that they claimed was deported, even though he wasn't deported, and his dad ran off and left him standing there. Like that sort of stuff. They'll just keep doing that. Okay, they're not going to stop. This is the media machine that they've built. They keep using it, and they're going to keep using it as long as they possibly can. And whether or not it changes public opinion or not, I don't know. The one thing I will say is that the idea that public opinion has shifted so drastically towards them is not true. There is no polling to suggest that at all. Trump's polls numbers have been roughly the same for 6 to 7 months. They went down during the summer, down to in the mid 40s, and they've been there for months. They haven't moved.
Yeah,
So,
the people that are mad at Trump on the right are the people that want more deportations. Like all the numbers are skewed exactly. So
well,
I
listen
mean,
to me. I have the unique ability or unique fortune in my life that I have an opportunity every now and then to sit and speak with a bunch of people who are kind of like old school GOP. And these guys are pretty funny because when you talk to them, they all say, well, I don't know, Trump's kind of getting back-footed with this whole immigration stuff. And I said, you don't get it, guys. The under 45 crowd, we want more, go harder, way harder. That's what should be happening. That's what would make him popular amongst the younger generation, is if he went full-on insurrection act, arrest everybody. That kind of stuff would be insanely popular amongst the younger generation. I'm telling you, people don't believe that, but it is true. It is 100% true. You go look at the poll numbers, okay? You want to know when Trump was polling the highest? He was polling at 68% back during the Doge stuff. 68%. Okay, and that went down after the Doge stuff stopped being, they stopped doing it. Okay, the Doge stuff was insanely popular. People ripping up the government because people are mad that the government has not been working and not doing things for a very long time, and they want it to be fixed, and they don't care if you've got to rip it apart to fix it. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. People don't like the government. People are very unhappy with the government, and they want it to be fixed. And the only way that you think you can fix it is if you got to tear the whole thing up and start over, then do it. That's what people want. I mean, I'm not sure I entirely agree with the concept. I agree with that for certain aspects of the government, like specifically the FBI and the EPA. I think both of them should be relegated to small offices in Topeka, Kansas, without windows. But to do that to the entire government. I think that it might be necessary for large portions of the government. I mean, that's the reality of it. And staffing does matter, guys. We got to get better people in there, but it's not very easy to staff the entire government over, very, very quickly. But I will say that Trump has done one hell of a job getting the executive branch under control. The problem we have really more than anything is Congress. Okay, the Congress is still a huge issue for us, which is why I tell everybody you better be paying attention to your primary season. Oh, this is actually something we need to talk about. So there's a very important story. So we're going to shift topics just a little bit here, guys, but we do need to talk about this. There was a story that happened in Virginia over the weekend, or actually maybe it was Monday. A district court ruled in Virginia that the redistricting plan that the Democrats had pushed forward is unlawful and violated the state constitution, and thereby was completely thrown out and destroyed essentially. Now the issue with this is it's pretty important because they were about to vote again and have have a vote on whether or not they were going to be able to redistrict right away, and that was supposed to be on the ballot coming up on April. I don't think they can now. I don't think that's possible. And I'll tell you right now, based on that ruling, it looks like it's completely and totally unconstitutional. And I thought it was unconstitutional when they did it, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to win that. So it looks like that's out.
Since I live in Virginia, can I comment on that real quick?
I was actually going to ask you about that, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so today I have an update for you. Virginia Democrats have appealed. So they're asking for an emergency order. Let me just read it here. Virginia Democrats appealed a judge's ruling that obviously blocks the gerrymandering amendment from going before voters this spring as they look to pick up House seats ahead of the midterm. So the speaker said, "We remain confident we will prevail and we will continue moving forward." I mean, and again, the Supreme Court might take this voting rights issue, and I know you've been talking about that, Walter. But I'm always in Richmond at the Virginia Supreme Court and outside the Virginia our state capital in Richmond. And I would just tell you that our Virginia Supreme Court is made up of obviously mostly Democrats, right?
Yeah,
Obviously,
but the
that,
problem,
you know,
the issue is not the makeup of it. I'll tell you right now that the issue on the way that they ruled on this is that I don't understand how you could rule differently. I mean, it's pretty clear the way that they talked about it, the way that it was sitting out there is that, and this is what we all said when they did it in the first place, is that this is unlawful. This is against the Constitution. And by the way, it was only 5 years ago that they put that in the Constitution in the first place. I mean, this is why I don't think it's going to stay. And the fact that they ruled against it, my guess is that they lose on appeal. Now, that's what my guess is. And if they take it to the Supreme Court, I still guess they lose on appeal because at the end of the day, even if you're a Democrat, Republican, it doesn't really matter if it violates the law like 3 different ways. So I don't think they'll win.
I haven't looked at the law, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go to Washington. I don't think Washington.
No. Virginia Supreme Court. Virginia Supreme Court.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's
for
Virginia
sure.
Constitution. It would never go to the federal courts. I don't think it would. I mean, I don't know why it would. It's specifically it's a Virginia constitutional rule.
I mean, if Republicans are making the argument saying it's violating members of Congress from Republican members of Congress from being elected, then obviously the Supreme Court can take a look at it and say,
maybe, but
members.
I think maybe that could be, but that would be a different appeal. Like that would be a different case to bring forward probably. In this scenario, it would only go up to Virginia Supreme Court. And I'll tell you right now that just based on the ruling, and I understood this law pretty well because I looked a lot into it when they started doing this in the first place to see if it was even possible. I don't think it is legal the way that they went about it in the first place. And the section, the deal is what they're trying to do, by the way, is that they're trying to repeal the law that makes this the case. And that's not something you can do because even if you did repeal the law, which they're trying to do now, then it would still have to go into effect after the next year, not that year. So even if they do manage to do this, right, even if they manage to do this, according to this ruling, which I'm not sure how else you would get around it, it's in the Constitution. There's no way that this is going to manage to get on the ballot this year. So even if they manage to repeal, I mean, we'll see. But my thing is, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We'll see how tough Jay Jones is. He'll be the first. This will be the first. The new Attorney General of Virginia. This will be his first time actually arguing before the High Court in Virginia.
Well, in fairness, he did go to the Quality Hearing Center.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it'll be his first time ever doing anything in court because he can't even spell attorney. So I'm not too confident.
Well, neither can Alina Habba.
Well, listen, Alina Habba is not an elected official.
And she's actually a prosecutor.
She's not an elected official.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not an elected official. Anyway, go ahead, Key.
Hey, Jared, what do you think about the new bill that they put in Virginia, taking away mandatory minimums for people that had raped somebody? I want to know what your perspective is on that. I think Democrats are getting this all wrong.
Honestly, I haven't taken a look at it. I've been like my goal right now is just trying to get Hakeem Jeffries the gavel in the next several months. So I haven't really even been focusing on really Virginia. So I can't give you an opinion.
Well, anyway, so the bigger part to me in Virginia, the Virginia Democrats and their legislator there, they've pushed forward a bunch of insane laws. Whether or not they actually go through or maybe they actually get them to pass, I don't know. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the bigger thing about it in my eyes, which is exactly what Jared is talking about, and he's focused on the correct thing. So if you guys think that the Democrats aren't focused, maybe you need to pay attention as well. The reality is that with getting the redistricting was important. So if they don't manage to get redistricting, they were going to pick up 4 seats in Virginia if they managed to do that, which is why this matters, which is also why they were so focused in winning Virginia, because they want to do the redistricting there. Unfortunately for them, the reality is that the Constitution the referendum that they passed back a while ago makes it pretty difficult to redistrict. So I doubt highly they'll be able to redistrict in Virginia, but we'll see. I don't think it's going to happen, especially after this ruling. Okay, guys, we've only got a couple.
Also,
go
really
ahead.
quick, isn't that 90-day window also going to be hampered, even if they did do an appeal? I think that the window that they set out, the process that would have to be followed, then to hit the 90-day window would virtually make it impossible to be this year anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible. My thing about it is that the deal is that they're trying to enact a law based on something that they already passed in the past, and to be able to do that according to Virginia law, it would go into effect the following year, not that year. So it's not possible for them to do this. They can't go back in time and somehow manage to do this. It's not going to work. So we'll see. But we'll see what happens as a result of this. I doubt highly that redistricting will happen here. But redistricting war is still happening across the country. So, I mean, we'll see what's happening. I know that they're challenging the one in California, whatever they say, Proposition 50, I think it was. I know that's being challenged in court. So there's a bunch of interesting things when it happens to redistricting. If you're really looking at the battle for the House, the redistricting battle really is the fight. Across the country, if the Republicans get it together, they could pick up something like 13 seats. There's also a very important Supreme Court ruling that's coming out right now about the Voting Rights Act. If they remove racial gerrymandering, that could change the elections drastically across the country. It could gain Republicans upwards of 13, 14 seats. But again, you can't put all your eggs in that basket, because even if the court rules against that, maybe they don't have time to be able to get the maps drawn in time. Who knows? There's a bunch of stuff. This summer is going to be wild when we get into the redistricting, because if the Voting Rights Act gets thrown out and the Republican districts can suddenly pick up a bunch of seats from that, and then there's possible redistricting in multiple other states, it's pretty interesting stuff. So whether or not we actually managed to go through with a lot of it, who knows? But to me, that is the big fight going on for the midterms, and everyone should be paying attention to it. So if you don't know what's going on with redistricting in your state, you should pay attention to it. Okay, I got other hands here. Let's hear what's up, Gambler.
Hey, how you guys doing? No, I heard you guys talking about this stuff, and you started talking about elections. A lot of people think Dominion is the problem. The truth in reality is it's a low-tech hack. I could fill out a registration. I could go ahead and purchase a voter file. I could go ahead and analyze the voter file and look for the people that don't vote, which is majority of them. All I need to do is take that information that they provide me, put that onto the registration card. On the very next thing, there's mailing address. Add a mailing address. You could go ahead and send their ballot wherever you want. I live in California. I used to work in San Diego Registrar of Voters for 20 years. I know how the system works. I know that the machines are just tabulators. The biggest, at one period of time, very, very, very short. And because of black box, we eliminated that. We did not have a paper trail. When we implemented the IDs, the touchscreens where you could go ahead and vote on the machines, there was no paper trail. And so everything that you guys say about that, yeah, no, that's possible. But once the paper trail is established, then that paper trail, anytime a recount is done, is compared to the electronic count. It's physically counted all the way through. Now, the reason why I go ahead and say it is vote by mail is because my old registrar, the one that basically turned all of California into a vote by mail state, he was under investigation for voter fraud in his previous position. Politicians and a bunch of people rallied against, it was portrayed as a mistake, but it was during one of these recount processes, and he decided to sort all the ballots. But in reality, this is when you have a corrupt registrar's office. If these optics look off at all, they most likely are. So when he sorted everything out, he made sure that the paper copy matched the electronic copy. Okay? Now, I'll go ahead and tell you the election rules that make this all possible. There's one way is the registration voter fraud, as I've said. And here's the other thing, the NVR. How many of you guys know what the NVRA and what the major issue of that is? Anyone? Okay, I'll just say it because I'm talking.
Just go ahead. So we don't go into. So let me just for reference here. It sounds to me like you know a lot about what you're talking about here. You're talking to a group of people that don't know a lot about what you're talking about in terms of the audience. So try and simplify it down to about 30 seconds and continue.
You're referencing the Motor Voter Registration Act.
Yeah, Voter Registration Act.
How they get put on the rolls, and no states verify citizenship once they're on the rolls, or at least at this point. Up until a couple of years ago, no states did. You have Florida and a few others now that do, but this is how they get thrown on the rolls when they get a state issue.
Well, and this is generally speaking, what he's talking about here is the problem with mail-out ballots, guys, which is a huge issue across the country. There's a lot of places, California essentially made it mandatory to have mail-out ballot optional. So I mean, these are huge problems. The mail-in ballots is just a problem.
Yeah, no, San Diego was the one that convinced everyone that this is a good idea. Improve more access to absentee. Anyone could be a permanent vote by mail. So let me go in and tell you what MVRA, the motor voter rolls, really protect and why everyone is pushing on an idea that doesn't really matter. Because if you have poll site voting with an ID, it doesn't matter how many fraudulent vote registration cards are in the system. That's how the system was running for a long period of time before we opened up vote by mail.
Yeah, well, that's just
when
generally true, which is the kind of the point of doing, actually having voter ID, which, by the way, is a 80% or almost 90% of the country agrees that we should have voter ID. The fact that we don't is insane. But yes, these are all genuine problems. If you don't have the ability to prove that people exist or not. I mean, listen, me personally, I know a guy, friend of mine, who sent he got a ballot sent to his dog, and he put the dog's name as Joe Blow, and he got a ballot for it. Okay, so there's no checking, and this is the huge problem. So yes, there is lots of problems with mail-in ballots, and it is the number one. I think in my eyes, that is the much bigger issue. We're talking about the voting machines and whatnot. I have never been one of the ones, the people that believes that there's some sort of algorithm that runs in the background. Now, I have heard very convincing arguments to try and convince me the opposite of that. But at the same time, I personally have never been able to verify enough to say that the machines themselves are what's causing the problem. I think that what it really does is what you're referencing, which is it gets rid of the paper trail, which is the bigger problem. Okay, so I need to go on.
Well, yeah, but let me hold up. I just want to go in and explain the Dominion and the machines and what people are really
gambler. Listen, we've only got about 5 or 10 minutes left on the show. You can come back another night. We can talk about this some more. Okay, I need to go over here. Go ahead, Cost Mike.
Oh, thanks for having me speak. I actually just had one question. I was curious to know what your take is on this. I'm looking at the poly market numbers, and I'm looking at the general reasoning behind this. But typically, it's like when an incumbent president is in power, typically in the midterms, the opposing party ends up winning the election, or being able to flip the House. So. And, it looks like that trend is expected to occur again. I was thinking, what do you think the party's going to have to do, or what can they do to keep that from happening? Or do you think it's possible?
It is possible, but the reality is that Congress themselves needs to get their act together. Congress has been a huge problem. Okay, the reality is that the most activated part of the Republican base is angry with Congress because they're just not getting things done. They're just not getting things done. This whole idea that we need to wait and to get every single one of Trump's appointees, we still don't have all of Trump's appointees in. They haven't moved on almost any of the agenda. The only way that they're managed to do stuff is through these giant reconciliation bills. And I'll tell you right now, the reconciliation bills are not enough for people. Okay, people don't like these reconciliation bills. I'm not a fan of some of the stuff they're putting in the appropriation bills that they just push forward. There's minibus things that they just push forward. They push forward $5 billion in the ORR, which is something that I believe is where almost all of the fraud from these immigrant communities across the country. I think that's one of the number one culprits of it. It's one of the biggest issues we have. But we don't, they don't care. Congress, to cut spending out of the budget is like pulling teeth, and they refuse to have it done. So it's a huge problem. Congress themselves, Republicans have this issue where they believe in some way that they're popular and they're not. Trump is popular. And until they get their act together and realize that, I mean, they're going to hand the Democrats the House back. Now, the Senate, on the other hand, is going to be a lot closer. I highly doubt they're going to be able to flip the Senate completely. I was looking at some numbers earlier. Graham Plattner up there in Maine looks like he might be able to take Collins on. I don't know. I think the odds are 70-30 that Plattner wins that. I don't know if he actually does pull it off or not. Collins has a lot of name ID. I think that would be one seat that's kind of a toss-up in my eyes. There is Usted in Ohio, which I think might have a problem against Sherrod Brown, mostly because Sherrod Brown is actually liked, and people maybe not liked, but people know him, okay? They know the name a lot better than they do Usted. Usted was the guy that replaced Vance. He was appointed by DeWine. I don't know if he's running the greatest campaign of all time. There's a number of Senate seats to look at. I think that it's going to be closer in the Senate. House is probably looking like they may flip Democrat. But the question, again, when you look at that is, by how many seats? Okay, like how many seats? It looks like to me the most recent polling numbers, according to RCP's average, is that the generic ballot is a +4 for Democrats. Now, I'll tell you right now that math all changes, though. Okay, a +4 in the House this map changes drastically if some of these redistricting things go forward, guys. So that's the way to pay attention to it. So we're not really even fully into the midterms yet. I'm not really prepared to give a full analysis on what I think the best strategy is, because I need to see how these primaries shake out. There's a lot of primaries that are very important that people should be paying every bit of attention to. The primaries are everything, really, guys. The primaries is where we're going to be able to see if we can actually get people in there that are going to be able to get the agenda forward. But the other part about this is that from my understanding, is that Trump is going to hit the campaign trail again. He's going to be out there giving speeches on a regular basis. So, if anybody can get people out to the ballots, that Trump can do that. So we'll see what happens from the administration in terms of a campaign strategy. I haven't fully seen a strategy yet, so I can't give you that analysis. All I can say is that the redistricting is huge. But the bigger part about it, I think Trump, the way that he's going to kick this stuff off is he's going to use the 250th anniversary as a way to really make this thing kind of a national event and people to pay attention to the elections again, which, love him or hate him, the reality is that Trump knows how to get people civically engaged in their country. So if anybody can figure out how to get a strategy together, I would put it behind Trump's team more than anybody else. Okay, let's go here. I've got another person here on stage. Let's hear. What's up, Killing IT?
Hey, yeah, thank you for bringing me up and allowing me to speak. I'm here in Indiana, and we had that redistricting battle here not that long ago, and it got shut down. I know that there is a lot of primary candidates. One of my buddies, he's running against Dan Durnell. His name's Trevor. But there's going to be a lot of primary candidates that we're pushing America first here in Indiana. So that is going to be something to look forward to. If anybody's in Indiana, we could draw some attention here, get some people together, and when it comes time to vote for these candidates, get it in there. And yeah, like you were saying, the redistricting thing is going to be big for when it comes to the House, because if the Supreme Court does reverse that, the civil rights, what was it?
It's the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights
Act. That'll help us out a lot. And if we can get some of these good candidates in here, we might have a chance of being able to hold the House. I don't see it unless Pam Bondi starts really holding these people accountable. And unfortunately, we see that she's kind of sitting on her hands. Okay, she did something today, but we got a lot of problems with a lot of people that are really known criminals that we can prove that, and they're still walking free. So that's a big thing here in Indiana. People are upset about these people getting to do what they want. It's good for them and not for us type thing. I mean, January 6th happened in 2020, and they went and mass arrested all of the conservatives that were just even there. How come all these people in this Minneapolis church aren't arrested during the same thing?
Listen,
signal chat.
Listen, man. So you're touching on the thing that I talk about a lot, which is that the accountability aspect in the country, you have to have it. Otherwise, people are not going to trust their government ever again on the right. And then this is something that has to be dealt with. It really does. And I've got to give a credit to Jared, because I say it all the time, is the fact that he was right, that how do you arrest people? Ask the Democrats. They were pretty damn good at it. That's 100% true. They figured out how to arrest people very quickly. And the deal is that no one, and I mean no one, has been arrested from the previous election and the previous administration for all the corrupt stuff that they did. And that needs to be changed, because I'll tell you right now, in my eyes, I think that's the one issue that really that bother the activist type, the people that are actually out on the ground getting things done and actually being out there and motivated to do things. If you don't actually deal with that and get those people engaged, then that's a huge problem, because those are your best people and you need to get them into the game. And if you can't get them in the game, it's not going to be good for us. Okay, guys, go ahead, Jared, if you want to speak real quick.
No, I was just going to say, up until 2 weeks ago, I thought it was just a Pam Bondi problem. I mean, I was outside the federal courthouse in Norfolk, and we always talk about all the time, it's very easy to impanel a grand jury where they can indict a ham sandwich. You're having a moment now where Alina Habba is going to a grand jury trying to indict Comey. Someone's going to a grand jury trying to indict Letitia James in Norfolk, and the grand jury is saying, no, I'm not going to indict. It's because you don't have probable cause. So it's not really about, and the former gentleman who just spoke said, why is Don Lemon and why are the people still free in Minnesota? They were. They tried to charge them, and a federal judge in Minnesota basically said, no, get this off my desk. Don't have probable cause to charge Don Lemon.
Listen, anyway, guys, I've got to end the show, guys, so I don't have time to argue about this, but I'll tell you right now that one of the problems, again, is that these district courts, for one, are all very, very leftist, okay? So this is a problem we have, and this is a genuine issue that we have. But I will say that I don't know what their problem is, not being able to secure indictments for clear crimes. And the crimes that I'm talking about aren't even these ones, okay? I'm talking about The people that opened a counterintelligence operation on the sitting president of the United States, those people should be in fucking prison. Okay? They should be in prison. There's no question about it. We know what they did. We have the names. We know how they did it. We have everything. Those people should be in jail. Now, I think the only issue you have is that how exactly do you charge people? How do you charge government officials for attempting to overthrow the government? The only way I think you can do it is you have to go through military style and say that this is a seditious conspiracy and treasonous actions against the president of the United States. You tried to overthrow the country. I think that's the only way you can do it. And I think they're being squishy about it and they're being stupid about it. And the reality is the people that did that tried to overthrow the country and they should be shot. That's what should happen. It should happen. Will it happen? I doubt it highly. I want it to happen. Never going to happen in my eyes. Something should happen, though, because almost all of those people, by the way, almost all of those people received multi-million-dollar settlements from Biden's DOJ. So not only did they attempt to overthrow the country and try to undermine a president that a duly elected president, they were then rewarded with it with multiple million-dollar settlements when Biden's DOJ came in. And that is something that we have to address as a country. Otherwise, it will happen again. Okay, guys, this is The Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurt. Make sure you guys follow all of my speakers up here on the panel. These are good people. Make sure you follow all of them. They always got something interesting to say. If you guys want to support this show is run completely independently. Go to my page. You can get a sign up for subscriptions here on X. If you sign up for subscriptions here on X, that is, you get behind the scenes on the investigation stuff that I'm working on. Guys, the investigation stuff that we're doing is getting bigger, and it's going to start expanding nationwide very shortly. I'm going to California next week, and then I'll be in Florida, and then I'm going to be in New Jersey. It keeps growing, the list, and the list that people keep sending me keeps getting bigger and bigger. So you guys, if you want to support the work that I'm doing, go to WCDispatch.com, and you can subscribe there, or you can subscribe right here on X, and you get behind the scenes of what I'm up to. I appreciate everyone who does subscribe to me, and I appreciate everybody who actually comes to the show and everybody who comes up here and speaks. Anything you want to say, guys, anytime you have any comments, any feedback, make sure you guys send them down and below, and I always do read all of the comments, at least by the end of the show I do that. And I appreciate everyone who comes to the show, and we will see you guys tomorrow night on The Political Theater. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark, their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, we ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised heirs, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.